The bondage in Egypt. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us." Exodus 1:8. The Israelites, once favored in Egypt due to Joseph's legacy, had become a threat in the eyes of a new Pharaoh. He enslaved them, forcing them into hard labor and even ordering the death of their newborn sons. But God was already preparing a deliverer, the calling of Moses. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. God called to him out of the bush, "Moses, Moses." And he said, "Here I am." Exodus 3:2. While tending sheep in the wilderness, Moses encountered the burning bush where God called him to lead his people out of Egypt. Though reluctant, he was assured that God would be with him. The confrontation with Pharaoh. "Then say to Pharaoh, 'Thus says the Lord, Israel is my firstborn son, and I say to you, let my son go, that he may serve me. But if you refuse to let him go, behold, I will kill your firstborn son.'" Exodus 4:22. Moses and Aaron stood before Pharaoh, demanding the release of the Israelites. But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, leading to a dramatic showdown of plagues. The 10 plagues. "Thus says the Lord, by this you shall know that I am the Lord. Behold, with the staff that is in my hand, I will strike the water that is in the Nile, and it shall turn into blood." Exodus 7:17. From blood in the Nile to darkness over the land, God unleashed 10 plagues, each striking at the heart of Egypt's gods. The final plague, the death of the firstborn, broke Pharaoh's resistance. The Passover and deliverance. "When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt." Exodus 12:13. On the night of the final plague, God commanded the Israelites to mark their doorposts with the blood of a lamb. The angel of death passed over these houses, sparing them. This event became the foundation of the Passover celebration, the parting of the Red Sea. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the sea back by a strong east wind all night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. Exodus 14:21. As the Israelites escaped, Pharaoh pursued them. Trapped at the Red Sea, they witnessed one of the greatest miracles. The waters parted, allowing them to cross safely. When Pharaoh's army followed, the sea collapsed, drowning them. Provision in the wilderness. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I am about to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day." Exodus 16:4. In the desert, God provided manna for food and water from a rock to sustain his people, teaching them to trust in him. The giving of the 10 Commandments. "And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me." Exodus 21-3. At Mount Sinai, amidst thunder and fire, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, establishing a covenant with Israel. The golden calf and God's mercy. "And he received the gold from their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, and made a golden calf. And they said, These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." Exodus 32:4. While Moses was on the mountain, the Israelites fell into idolatry, crafting a golden calf. God's wrath burned against them, but Moses interceded, and God showed mercy, renewing his covenant. The tabernacle and God's presence. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Exodus 40:34. God instructed the Israelites to build the tabernacle, a sacred dwelling place. When it was completed, his presence filled it, signifying his guidance and closeness to his people.